Two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, David Stragi, and here in the room with me, I have Boris from
Hi.
Zone 13.
True.
He hails from us all the way from Croatia. Today we decided to go on and do something a little bit different, even though we're kind of following the Joe Sherlock, John Bowker trail of films.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
we are going on about the first Odd Noggins, which was originally filmed in either 1999 or 2000 by Joe Sherlock.
Yeah, it's this movie here. I think it was filmed in 1999 and released in 2000, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, so I just recently, because I've been working with I worked with Sherlock as a producer on Dark Zone 13, and he asked me to go because of my knowledge of working with the IMDb pages. I actually just updated the page for this.
Oh,
Um,
that's wonderful.
I mean, I'm almost done. I got some screenshots that I got to do of the original thing, and then make sure I get that Odd Noggins um, poster up. Other than that the page should actually be good to go. So,
Oh, well, this movie is actually pretty good for taking screenshots because it really has a lot of weird imagery, which is one of the things I really like about it.
so apparently this film begins. Well, actually, from the stuff that you actually see after the film. Apparently, this film was put together by asking actors and actresses like Stephanie Beaton, Shannon Barksdale. Um, some of these actors and actresses were not necessarily in Joe Sherlock's state, so he asked them to videotape segments and then send them to him, and he was going to somehow easily put them together and create a film.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. And it's actually pretty interesting while you're watching the movie, as it was filmed by different people with different cameras. You can see differences in video quality
Video
while watching
quality,
it.
video quality, and audio quality, for that
Yeah,
matter.
yeah,
All
true.
various levels of video paraphernalia.
Indeed. Well,
So apparently, this film was filmed in Oregon, parts in Alabama, parts in Iowa, and New Jersey.
correct. Uh,
So, um, well, let's get started here. The In the very beginning, we see um, a woman who evidently is in a kitchen, and I believe it's Shannon Barksdale who plays a character that gets abducted by aliens.
oh, yeah, yeah. In the first one, yes, that character is played by Shannon Barksdale, and interestingly enough, the that scene can also be found in another Joe Sherlock movie from around that time called the Trailer Park Double Wide Trilogy of Terror. I own it. I just don't have it right here. Well, it's slightly differently edited there, but yeah, so in that scene, we see this woman played by Shannon who gets abducted by aliens, and they perform some not quite explained experiments on her, and she ends up getting bruises all over her body. At first, she thinks it's just nightmares, but then, because of those bruises, she realizes it's really happening. And just when she tries to get some help, whatever those aliens did to her causes her to melt into yellow goo, which is made from yellow pudding, which is one of iconic things about Odd Noggins.
In both Odd Noggins and its remake, from what I understand.
Yes, correct.
Which we'll get into that gooey situation momentarily. So, and here's my copy.
Oh, nice.
Of course, my copy of the VHS to DVD is actually in the other room. I plan on actually putting a DVD of it together, just for the sake of having a nice looking bootleg of it.
Oh, you mean you are going to transfer the VHS to DVD?
Well, I did
Oh,
in order to watch it. So
oh, nice. Well, yeah, here is mine. I designed this cover. Well, by altering this one, I created this for my collection. Yeah.
so after after Shannon Barksdale's character gets melted, we realize that this is actually just part of a station of a movie on channel 12.
12, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
um, which uh, which apparently there is a group of ladies that seem to have. It seems like all the women in this film have to have jobs where they dress up as goers, or people who are messenger people who dress up and go to birthday parties and things of that
uh,
nature.
yeah, well, in this movie, it's well, in the original, we have a comic book convention. Then they talk about a Renaissance fair and about an upcoming Halloween party.
And
But
a convenience store is used in this one instead of a bar
oh,
scenery in the remake.
true, yeah, in the remake there is no comic book convention and no convenience store. The Renaissance Fair is still talked about, but just like in the first one, we never see it happen. And the Halloween party, funnily enough, as it's discussed throughout the whole movie, in the end it doesn't happen for certain reasons. Yeah.
So, the other thing that I noticed that is a difference about let's just put it this way. I'm just going to explain the plot just a little bit, if I can here. Let me
Um,
just see if okay there is okay. So the plot is basically there are some characters that all seemingly seem to watch the same channel. Also, there is some pudding that seems to be eaten uh, uh, by everyone, and in there is a lunch sequence in here where Joe Sherlock shows up in this particular film,
I love that scene.
which is kind of funny. He's not the guy who plays it in the remake. Um,
uh,
he only plays it in this original film.
Uh, Actually, Joe Sherlock played both in the original and in the remake, but his role is very short. He is only this guy who joins this character, John, played by John Bowker in the original and by Bob Olin in the remake. So Joe Sherlock's character joins him at the table, and he is only in one scene, but he plays the same character in both versions.
Well, yeah, John Bowker plays John in this one, and where he plays the drunk grandfather
Oh,
in in the remake, correct?
yeah, yeah. The drunk grandpa is one of the major innovations of the remake, which wasn't in the original.
Well, and the guy calling back in the Convenience Plus, saying, "Are you done yet?" In this particular original film, that's Dave Wilson, who
Oh, yeah.
actually perpetrates a Man in Black,
Yeah.
called Mr. Birch
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the remake, correct?
Yes, Mr. Birch is a very interesting character. He is,
Re-
like I said, the
a
remake.
mascot now.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said he's kind of a mascot in Joe Sherlock films lately.
Yes, and he was actually introduced in the remake of Odd Noggins. Like I said, he was not in the original. He was introduced in the remake, and since then he has appeared in a few more Joe Sherlock movies.
But the
Like
actor who played Mr. Birch was, in
yeah,
fact, in Odd Noggins.
yes,
Very
Dale
shortly.
Wilson. Yes, Dale Wilson plays Mr. Birch in the remake, but in the original he had that short role which you mentioned, where he just yells to Ian Dunlop's character, "Are you down there?" or something like that, and that's all we see of him in the original.
Well, and Mr. Birch comes back, I believe, in Wall of Fear Beyond Belief, or
Beyond the Wall of Fear,
Beyond the
yes.
Wall of Beyond the Wall of Fear, the anthology that Joe Sherlock did before he directed Things 5, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he appears in that one. He also appears in a short called Dinner with Mr. Birch, which is a bonus short on the DVD of Beyond the Wall of Fear. And he also appears in a short called Housewarming, which was included in an anthology called Frames of Fear, which was
Which was
I forgot.
directed by Brad Twigg.
Yeah, yeah.
And I believe it also eventually went over to Wild Eye Releasing under under a title called Brutal or Brutality or something like that. I'm trying to think, but
Mm.
I have it because guess what? My name just so happens to be in the special thanks of Frames of Fear.
Oh wow, wow! I have it on DVD. It's just not right here. I'm going to check it out later. Very cool.
Well, if you look in the special thanks section, he thanked me for helping him out on that one. So,
Oh, very nice.
but in any case, let's go back to this film.
Oh
So
yeah.
apparently, well, the thing that I noticed about Joe Sherlock is that, um, to me, in Hollywood, they always seem to in regular Hollywood films, they always seem to use like skinny ass people. but
Yeah.
but Joe Sherlock uses like actors and actresses that are overweight just a little bit.
Indeed, indeed, he does. Uh, Well, yeah, as far as I know, he really likes it, and it's while some people may find it attractive, some people may not, but he definitely, by now, it became an iconic part of Joe Sherlock's movies, and they just wouldn't be what they are if people in it weren't the way they are. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, it shows the level of diversity that that Joe Sherlock brings. I mean, I'm sure in the regular independent world, um, not a lot of over overly weighted people. And I say that with respect because a lot of these overly weighted women are very beautiful. So it's not that I want to point out the fact that they're a little bit chunkier, but they are. So I hate to beat around the bush a little bit, but there are certainly some robust people in here. So, and that's not to say that I'm not robust either. I know I'm pretty fat. So, but in any case, it's kind of like a trademark of his, using um, some of the people that probably would not normally have a role in independent features because it seems like directors seem to go more towards the people that are more healthier than they would someone that just looks unhealthily obese.
Well, maybe, but I personally think it's cool because by casting the overweight people in his movies, Joe Sherlock shows them that they can not only be appreciated the way they are, but be appreciated because of the way they are. So.
Well,
uh,
and I think the fact that this film even existed at some point because he did a lot of this film um, with a lot of distance in between him and his actors. So there were a lot of scenes that were filmed in separate places, um, and like I think he mentioned in the extras that you know there were films that could actually be filmed. Like you can have women film themselves in tubs. Um,
Yeah, that's how he made it easier for them to do it. Although what you say is about scenes being filmed at in different states by different people, it was only in the original. As far as I know, the remake was all shot by Joe.
I agree, which makes it an entirely different animal. Um,
Yeah.
because this one was unorganized, whereas the Odd Noggins remake was in fact done and filmed the correct way. Um, well, I don't really think that there is a right or wrong way. I think these days you just have to, find the right people at the right point in time, and those that aren't like falling through the cracks and not coming through. You know,
Yeah,
It-
indeed.
but in any case, so um, now women start to sleep with other men.
Oh, yes.
Women are waiting for other men to
Uh,
get home.
yes.
So why don't you tell us kind of what transpires just a little bit
Uh,
in this first film?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Oh,
Could you repeat it?
why don't you tell us what happened with the guy? W- Apparently, there's a guy who is at work,
Uh, yes.
and he is listening to a certain story
Listening to a story. Wait, no, which guy are
told,
you
told by Joe Sherlock.
Ah, yeah, that's John Bowker's character, and now I know what you're referring to. Like I said before, it's one of my favorite scenes because it's really funny and it's something that could kind of happen in real life. So there is this guy, John Bowker's character. He is, funnily enough, eating yellow pudding, and Joe Sherlock's character appears and starts telling him about the horror movie on Channel 12, and he describes very graphically, very much in detail, how this woman in the movie, how her skin started to melt into yellow goo while he is eating some sort of yellow goo, yellow pudding. So it grosses him out. He loses his appetite.
And here's the difference with that particular scene. If I remember correctly, in the remake, this conversation actually happened outside at a picnic table, not inside. Too, in the remake.
Oh, yeah, there are some more differences. So, in the original, while describing what happened to the woman in the movie, Joe Sherlock's character mentions how her eyeball rolled out, and then when John Bowker's character throws his pudding aside because he no longer wants to eat it. The camera moves to the pudding and we see an eyeball appear in the pudding out of nowhere. That was one really funny detail and very memorable. And I have to say, for some reason, they omitted that detail in the remake, and I have to say I kinda missed it because I really found it funny in the original, although the remake in a way makes up for it by what happens before the conversation. If you have watched more of Joe Sherlock's recent movies, you may have noticed some dialogue lines that recurringly appear in multiple movies. Like in this one, you can hear someone in the background say that Cynthia is a lying sack of shit. That yeah, that line has been used in multiple Joe Sherlock movies by now. So if you notice it, you kind of have to laugh whenever you hear it.
Well, in all of Joe Sherlock's films, they have always been over the top kind of acting, and I just kind of think it's part of his charm, for having that kind of a dialogue in his films. So, um, but the rest of the premise of this film is that apparently the everyone in this town um, is eating um, this pudding, and,
Yes.
and ultimately it's the women that seem to be or have over been possessed by some kind of alien uh,
Uh,
agenda.
yeah, well, it's in the original, all aliens are women, but not all women are aliens. But in the remake, they kind of neutralized those gender roles because in the original, like I said, all aliens are women and all victims of them are men. But in the remake, it's not so. While we do have alien women, we also have Mr. Birch, who is also an alien and also one of them and a part of their agenda. And he is a man, and
He
we
seems
do see
he
him.
seems to be the one orchestrating the whole thing
Uh,
in the remake.
Yes, and we also see him kill women. We see two women who get killed by him. Well, one is already dead and she gets found, and then the one who finds her gets killed too.
One thing I remember about the remake is the part in the hair dryer. Or is this the one? No, that might not be the one. Maybe it is.
Uh,
Maybe it isn't. Maybe that might be red. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie. Um,
Maybe. Uh,
there's a part I remember in a Joe Sherlock movie where there's a part where they're in an old hair salon, and all the and there's a woman that gets melted entirely down.
who?
That that might be a different film than this remake.
It kind of rings a bell, but
Maybe it's redneck vampires.
oh, maybe I haven't seen that one in quite a while, but yeah, could be.
But in any case, so ultimately, it would appear that these women are seductresses.
Oh yeah,
So sex is used and involved um, to ultimately they end up having to take something back to their leader.
oh yeah, it's men's heads. So each of the alien women decapitate their boyfriend, husband, lover, whoever. But yeah, each of them takes one man's head to their spaceship. Most of them take the heads in card boxes. Uh, yeah, which is actually another very memorable thing to me. It uh,
In the original, it was John Bowker's character that ended up screaming in the very end. Eh?
Yeah, well, it's presumed that all of the decapitated men's heads ended up in the same situation, but yeah, in the original, we only see John Bowker and his counterpart Bob Olin in the remake, which is, like I said, one of the funniest moments in the movie to me personally when these alien women on the spaceship open a card box and we see a head in it, John Bowker or Bob Allen's head, and somehow the head appears to be alive in the box, and when it realizes what's going on, it suddenly starts screaming. And I really found it hilarious. I
As did I when I first saw the remake, because I saw the remake first, whereas you probably saw the original first. Did you not?
Yes, I saw the original first.
Okay.
And it,
Well, coming at it from a little different. See, I can actually see like the various levels of out of focusness and the various levels of video quality that apparently was used as footage.
yeah, in the original, there are some moments when the camera goes a bit out of focus, and the image gets blurry for a second. Yeah, yeah, I noticed.
But other than that, I mean, there are some redeeming qualities about the film. My thing with the original, I like the girlfriend of the one younger kid in here more than I liked the girlfriend in the remake. Uh,
Oh, interesting.
because the girlfriend in the I don't know if you know the college kid.
Yes, yes.
The college kid um, was younger looking than than his girlfriend in the remake.
Oh, well, he kinda was, yeah.
So to me, that was like kind of like he was going out with like someone that might even look like his teacher, in a
Well,
sense.
well, that could be interesting.
Whereas in this original one, I feel like the age is exactly, you know,
The
um,
same, more or less.
well, the same more or less, because she's his age, looking.
Yeah. Well, Uh, what I think about the original, something I really liked in it was all this weird imagery, which we don't see all of it in the remake. Like as I mentioned before, this eyeball appearing in the pudding previously eaten by John Bowker's character, or for example, there is this moment when we see big toy alligator on the edge of someone's bathtub, or wait, there were more things like that. Oh yeah, those giant plush green sleepers. I think it's
The
green
Grinch
sleepers. Yeah, yeah.
slippers. I noticed that on Shannon Barksdale's character as she
Uh,
was trying to talk to her supposed significant other
I
that she thought was laying in the bed, and when she woke up the next morning, he was not there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, there was some imagery like that in the original, which for some reason wasn't in the remake, which I somewhat missed. But well, that's in my opinion what makes it worth to watch both movies, because if you watch only one. Either one, there are some things you miss out on if you don't watch the other one as well.
Yeah, it was interesting to compare these two because there were quite a few differences
Yeah,
that they did in this one. Although it's like any remake, you wish that you could take little bits and pieces from the original and and paste it together with ones from the newer one. You know.
yeah, it would be interesting. Actually, to me personally, I can imagine both movies happening in the same universe, because after all the weird and bizarre things that happen in this story, it's not even too unbelievable to imagine the same thing happening twice in the same in the same universe.
Oh yeah, I could definitely imagine both of these within the same universe, and because they're technically a remake. Well, one is technically a remake of the other one.
Yes,
It's almost a totally different film because of all the things that were added.
indeed. One interesting detail I would like to mention, which I'm not sure if you have noticed, but in the original, there are multiple scenes of characters reading newspapers. And in the remake, every time they read newspapers, at least I think it's every time, but most of the times, at least, it's the same newspapers which I have a replica of. It looks like this, well, except for these white margins which I didn't cut off,
Half
but
gator, half man,
uh,
caught on security cam.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Man's head explodes.
uh, yeah. One interesting thing I wanted to point out about this is at the beginning we have this movie within a movie about the woman who melts into yellow pudding, and we see her read those exact same newspapers, which are later read by characters in real life. So somehow the same newspapers appeared in a movie that's not supposed to be real, and in the later scenes which are supposed to be real, which if you notice it kind of makes you wonder if that movie is just a movie or maybe also a part of the alien agenda.
The other thing that I noticed in the original film is that the short film "Monster in My Car" was
Oh,
playing in the background.
yes, yes. So at the beginning, we see after this woman, the first one, we get to know Tara Shamblin's character. After she watches this Yellow Pudding movie, she watches this one, Monster in My Car, which we get as a bonus on the videotape of Odd Noggins, and it's the only place where that short appeared. While in the remake, instead of that, we see the woman watching Drifter, a more recent Joe Sherlock movie. But yeah, Monster in My Car is an interesting one. It's around 2 minutes long, and it features Stephanie Beaton, Arlene Henry, and Doris Schwartz, and John Bowker as the monster in their car. I think that short was filmed on the set of The Evil Maker, and
And I
you.
also think that Yvette Sherlock was also in Monster in My Car.
Yvette Sherlock, Joe's wife. I I don't remember seeing her there. Where did you see her?
Well, it was in, believe it or not, um, it was already a name that was in the section of on Monster in My Car, um, on Monster in My Car's credits. Um,
Oh, I I would have to check it out. I don't quite remember the credits, but Yvette Sherlock was one of she played one of the characters who appeared at the comic book convention
okay.
in the main movie.
And Connor Sherlock was in there too, as one of the comic book convention people.
Yes, yes, Connor Sherlock, Joe's son, he was a little boy in the original, and in the remake he plays this character you mentioned before, this
College
younger
kid,
boy.
the college kid.
Yes, yes, him.
So ultimately, what was your impressions of both together?
To me personally, it's one of my favorite Joe Sherlock movies because it's one of the weirdest movies I've ever watched, and I'm not sure if I ever said this in our video chats before, but to me personally, if a stereotypically good movie like some high budget Hollywood production was comparable to a glass of good wine, then Odd Noggins would be comparable to an LSD trip. And I by all means say it as a compliment. It's really one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, but that's what makes it unique and really enjoyable.
it's
Now,
they're both out there for sure, at least for me. I mean, I know when I first picked this up, I kept seeing Joe Sherlock's films around, and finally I ended up picking up. See, when I go and get into a director, I tend to try to find the entire filmography of their stuff, and if I can buy it straight from them, I get an outright price of how much I can get, how many films, and I got his entire filmography all at once for the
uh,
most part.
yeah, well,
And it's thanks to you that I was actually able to get at least see some of the older stuff. So
yeah, I have collected all Joe Sherlock movies, both the older ones and the newer ones. And yeah, I also bought most of them from him directly.
well, you're also what would consider a Joe Sherlock fanboy.
I am not denying it.
So, uh, ladies and gentlemen, this is the man to go to if you ever want anything dealing with Joe Sherlock's filmography.
Thank you, thank you.
So
Yeah,
it is. I mean, uh, to be honest, it, each has their qualities. I mean, to me, yeah, some of the acting wasn't entirely on the level of the remakes.
uh, yeah. Well, to me personally, I would say yeah, each movie, each version has something that the other one doesn't have, which, like I said before, is what makes it worth it to watch them both. So, in the remake, at first we have better audio quality. It's much easier to distinguish what the characters are saying,
And it's
and it
probably a little bit more marketable too, and um, probably more accepted by the Independent Film Society. The
yeah.
although the other version, which Joe Sherlock hasn't seemed or deemed worthy to um, receive a DVD, an actual film. Well, he saw fit to have it have a VHS, but that was a limited run, was it not?
Uh, I think so. Yeah, the VHS is sold out, and nowadays it's really difficult to find a copy of it, which is one of the reasons why I'm really happy to have this tape. Uh, yeah, and besides the audio quality, the remake also has some better practical effects, like in the iconic yellow pudding scene when the woman melts into yellow goo. It's made a bit more realistic with. I think they also added some ham or something like that, and fake eyeballs, which in the original there was only pudding. And yeah, as you mentioned before, the remake also brings some innovations like Mr. Birch, who is a very interesting character, and the drunk grandpa, and also the corpse prop from this nightmare scene, which in the remake the prop was much better and much more realistic than the original one, and uh, so on. Oh yeah, and the remake has nudity, which the original one doesn't have.
Yeah, I agree. This one actually, the remake actually did have more nudity, even though you know uh, the ladies were wearing some very risque night clothing. Uh,
Oh yeah, that's true.
it really didn't leave much up to the imagination to understand what shapeliness t- uh, some of the women's tops actually look like underneath all that jazz.
Yeah, true.
So, in any case, I mean, me, having seen this original one, I was fairly entertained by the prospect of scenes what they did on such short notice, and well, what they were able to accomplish by doing all that and listening to how he put it all together in the very end. That was like that was like finding a needle in a haystack. Okay, which scene do I use for which area? And did they get it exactly right? You know, so
Indeed, like yeah, they created the impression of all those characters being in the same town when they were actually in multiple different states. Well, in the original, at least. In the remake, they were. It was all filmed by Joe Sherlock, as we said before.
what did you think about the music behind the Odd Noggins original film?
The music is also a very iconic part of it. It has, how do I even put it in words?
Like techno or some shit like that.
Well, I don't even know what genre it would belong to, but yeah, it's a very unique instrumental track, and
Well,
it
I know that Joe Sherlock was the one behind the music, so he is actually the one who created the music for the original.
Yes, yes, and it really adds a special atmosphere. So you can have something fairly ordinary happening on the screen, like a woman walking around the house, which otherwise wouldn't be anything special. But with this music in the background, it keeps your attention and makes you wonder what's going to happen, even if nothing special ends up happening, which is also another thing that makes this movie unique. Like it makes you expect something big and then nothing happens, and it makes you wonder, like, what has just happened? Like yeah, shortly after the beginning, this woman who was watching the Yellow Pudding movie, she thinks she has a burglar in her house, and we hear this instrumental music, which I mentioned, and it makes you expect something thrilling to happen, and then it just ends up being her dog making noises in the house.
I thought it was kind of funny how how John Bowker's character went to the convention, and she just happened to like bring him straight up to her room, and you know. things that go bump in the night where it was going to happen regardless. But shit like that doesn't happen, often. where where a woman just takes you up to her bedroom and promiscuous stuff happens.
Oh, indeed. Well, at least not if the woman is not an alien.
True, true. Uh, but in any case, so ultimately, do you have a favorite scene from either one of these two?
Well, it's difficult to choose between the scene when Joe Sherlock is telling the story about the Yellow Pudding movie, which is the other character's reaction is what makes it really funny. So to me, it's either that or the scene with the screaming head in a card box, which is probably, to me personally, the most memorable scene of the whole movie, and it's something I like to mention randomly in real life to hear people's reactions. So people who haven't seen the movie, I tell them, hey, you know what? And they're like, what? And I say, screaming human head in a card box. And then I watch their reaction to what I said. And as they are usually not familiar with this movie, reactions tend to be pretty funny.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Me personally, I like that screaming head part too. That's one of my favorite parts. But there's another part where the one chunky woman is talking to her lover on the phone, and she's like, "Well, you better get back home because I'm all naked and wet underneath."
Oh yeah, it's one of the chubbier women who says that both in the original and the remake.
I believe her name was Tammy.
Yes, yes, that's the character's name.
So, um, other than that, I mean, I thought the music was interesting. Um,
Yes,
I mean,
definitely.
we first heard it while John Bowker's character was actually going to the convention on the radio.
Oh, yeah, that's another song we hear in the movie. Yeah, we hear it recurringly in the original, and I think it's in the remake too, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure now, but I think it is.
I'm pretty sure it is too. But in any case, was there anything else that you thought that might be trivial to this discussion about both of these films? Um,
Well, oh yeah, something I wanted to mention, which, well, it might not have so much to do with the plot of either version, but uh, uh, what makes these movies a very interesting part of my movie collection are the extras that came with them. So, this original videotape, the last several copies, yeah, mine was one of the last few. It was sold as a part of so-called odd pack of Odd Noggins. It came with a bunch of extras, which I have right here. So one of the things I got with it was this picture. Well, I got it framed. It didn't come framed originally. It's Tara Shamblin who played Tammy in the original. She took this photo of herself holding a copy of the tape.
over a very significant piece of her body. I see that.
Yeah, yeah. It also came with a custom drawing by Joe Sherlock, so he would draw whatever the buyer requested, and you know me well enough to imagine what I requested him to draw. Can you guess what it was?
Felicia Pandolfi.
Yes, well, to be more precise, Total Evil, her character in The Seekers. Yeah, and I framed it
Looks more
too.
like a Japanese animation character.
Almost, yeah, good point. Yeah, so the tape also came with this postcard, which doesn't really have much to do with Odd Noggins, but it came as a part of the Odd Pack.
Okay.
And there was also this rubber lizard. So every odd pack came with a rubber lizard. Not all lizards were the same, but this is what mine looks like. And there was also this.
And what's interesting is Dr. Squid showed up in the extras of the original Odd Noggins, correct?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and this issue of Doctor Squid came as a part of the Odd Pack,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, and there was also a mystery item. So everyone who bought the Odd Pack also got one unique item, which for me was a few other issues of Doctor Squid, which I have right here.
Nice.
And thank you. And the remake was sold with usually by when you bought it you would get one item of your choice. The extras were limited, so not many people could buy each extra item, but I got, as I showed before, a replica of the newspapers used in the movie. Uh, One of the mayonnaise jars from which Mr. Birch was eating mayonnaise. I'm going to show it this. Yeah, and there was also this. Uh,
That's
uh,
Shannon Barksdale, isn't it?
yes, Shannon's autograph, which was made quite a while ago. It was coming as a bonus with this DVD uh, containing Joe Sherlock's movie Crimson Heather, and I think this photo of Shannon was taken during the shooting of Crimson Heather, if I'm not wrong, and Joe had a few more of these autographs available for sale, so he was selling them with Odd Noggins, the remake. So I have it here too, and another thing he was selling with the remake was this movie, Gentleman Broncos, which it's not a Joe Sherlock movie, but he had several copies of it somehow, so he was selling it with Odd Noggins. And yeah, there were some other things he was selling, like a mask used in his previous movie Beneath a Dead Moon, but I didn't end up getting that mask. It was a mask from a short called Beatlemaniac, which we are probably going to mention when we discuss Beneath a Dead Moon. So yeah, I think that was it. That's it regarding my Odd Noggins collectibles. But yeah, both the original and the remake came with a bunch of extras, which is what makes it a very interesting part of my movie collection.
Well, you know that I have Odd Noggins, and it does say that it is the limited edition.
Uh,
So I'm
yeah,
glad that I was actually able to get a copy of it. So,
indeed.
but yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our discussion then of both films. I mean, unless there's something that's out of the norm that we have not ent- entirely talked over or discussed. I know I like to go over every single detail, but I think we've covered most of it. So,
Well, most of it, the only detail I can think of right now that we haven't mentioned is just like the original Odd Noggins comes with this extra monster in my car, which kinda appears in the main movie while this uh, uh, Terra Shambling character is watching it. In the remake, the same character watches Drifter, but we still get an extra short after the movie. The extra short is called A Day in the Park, which I think that short can be, or at least could be, found on YouTube before. I think it might still be on YouTube.
okay. Well, I know Monster in My Car is on that Joe's Garage DVD, which I also have that DVD
Oh,
of the three short films.
oh, you mean Monster in the Garage?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
That's a different thing than
Monster
uh,
in my car.
okay.
Yeah, it's Monster in the Garage is much longer.
Okay, so is it actually in its full entirety in in the end of either film?
Is I'm sorry, is what?
Do you actually get to watch it separately at any given point in time in the end of Odd Noggins or Odd Noggins remake?
Well, in the original, you get to watch Monster in My Car, which is a 2 minutes short. You get to watch it as a bonus video after the main movie. And in the remake, the movie that appears during the main movie is Drifter, which you can buy as an individual DVD. You don't get it with Odd Noggins, but you can buy it as its own DVD. But you do get this bonus short I mentioned, A Day in the Park. It's around 5 minutes. You get it as a bonus on the DVD of the
Okay,
remake.
okay. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's all the time we have for today, folks. But definitely go out and uh, if you can find a copy of the VHS of Odd Noggins, have at it because it is very rare. And if you find it, it's a very cool feature with a cool short in the very end, like we mentioned. Yeah, but
Definitely
the remake is
very
actually still being sold by Joe Sherlock, and
correct.
actually, David Sterling is now selling a copy of Odd Noggins,
Oh
along with
wow.
many of Joe Sherlock's films in his store right now. So if you wanted to pick up some, I believe that they were that Joe gave him permission to sell them on his site, so
Oh
that you can
wow.
actually get a different copy. Although it's the same copy, it's just you know
A
um,
different cover.
different cover. Um,
Oh, interesting. I'm going to check it out. Thank you for letting me know.
well, I believe um, they are. I'll see if I can find the link for you when I get a chance. But I know that David Sterling posted about having like 5 or 6 of his films or whatnot in his store.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
um,
Well, it's going to make my movie collection even odder.
I believe Beyond the Wall of Fear, Drifter, Blood Creek's Woodsman, Odd Noggins
Oh,
are among some of the ones that he has, and it's like he clipped his own um, his own stuff while still having Skullface astronaut on the back of the cover. They're just
ooh,
slightly different looking. I
interesting.
don't know how to describe it.
Well, please send me the links. I definitely want to check it out.
Definitely. So, in any case, thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen, to our
Thank you.
ramblings about Sherlock's Odd Noggins. Both the original film from 1999 or 2000, and the remake that was filmed in 2014, 2015. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely, you can go and find either one of these films. One, the remake, much quicker, but yeah, go and check them out.
Yeah, definitely. You
It's
want regret
definitely
it.
a weird movie, weird characters, weird all around. So,
Yeah, it's very weird, and that's what makes it worth seeing. It's definitely a unique movie experience.
for for sure, for sure. In any case, thanks for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning,
Thank,
wherever you are.
thanks for
Appreciate.
listening, and have some yellow pudding.
Uh, yeah, and make sure those heads don't roll.
Yeah, and scream in card boxes. Oh, do you maybe have